Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43, 18-19. God said that to people who were carrying their past like a weight they couldn't put down. He didn't say, pretend it didn't happen. He didn't say, just move on. He said, I am doing something new. Right now. Can you see it? You didn't find this video by accident today. Something brought you here. Maybe it was a memory that surfaced again when you least expected it. Maybe it was a voice, not someone speaking to you now, but someone from a long time ago, whose words you can still hear as clearly as the day they were said. Maybe it was a feeling you've been trying to outrun for years, a heaviness that has no name, but you know exactly where it came from. There are wounds we carry that no one can see. They don't show up on an X-ray. They don't appear in a blood test, but they shape everything. The way you see yourself, the way you receive love, the way you shrink in certain rooms, the way certain words land differently on you than they do on everyone else. Because somewhere in your past, someone or something wrote a story about who you are, and part of you has been living inside that story ever since. Today, I want you to hear something that has the power to change that. What wounded you does not define you. God is rewriting that story. Stay with me. Let me ask you something that might be uncomfortable. When you close your eyes and think about who you are, what words come up? Not the words you say out loud when someone asks you to introduce yourself. The words underneath. The ones that run automatically. The ones that feel like truth even when you know they shouldn't. Maybe it's, I'm not enough. Maybe it's, I'm too much. Maybe it's, I'm damaged. I'm difficult. I'm the kind of person things go wrong for. Maybe it's, I don't deserve the good things. And the hardest part, those words didn't come from nowhere. Someone said them, or someone's actions said them louder than words ever could. A parent who wasn't there, or a parent who was there but made you feel invisible. A childhood where love felt conditional, where you had to earn it by being good enough, quiet enough, small enough. Words spoken over you in anger, in carelessness, in a moment someone didn't think mattered, but it mattered to you. It mattered so much that your nervous system recorded it and has been replaying it ever since. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147, verse 3. He's not describing a small inconvenience. The word for brokenhearted in Hebrew, shabar, means shattered, crushed, like something that was whole and was broken into pieces. That's the person God runs towards, not the person who has it together, the shattered one, the one carrying pieces of something that broke a long time ago. And in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, maybe you've asked these questions. Why can't I just get over it? Why does it still hurt after all this time? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns no matter how hard I try? Will I ever be free from what happened to me? God, did you see what they did? Did you see what it did to me? Those are not weak questions. Those are the most honest prayers you've ever prayed. And God heard every single one. I need to say something before we go any further. What happened to you was not okay. I'm not going to dress it up. I'm not going to tell you it was all part of a plan and you should just be grateful. What was done to you, the words, the absence, the cruelty, the neglect,
the moments that broke something in a child who deserved better. That was not okay. And God is not asking you to pretend it was. But here is what I need you to hear. What happened to you is not the same thing as who you are. The wound is real, but the wound is not your identity. The story someone wrote about you in your pain is not the story God is writing. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. Romans 8:28. Not what happened to you was good, not the person who hurt you was right, but God is powerful enough to take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into something that doesn't destroy you. That is not the same thing as excusing the wound. That is the miracle of a God who wastes nothing. There is a man in the Bible whose story I want to tell you today. His name was Mephibosheth, and his story is one of the most powerful pictures of what a wound can do to a person and what God's grace can do to a wound. Mephibosheth was 5 years old when his world collapsed. His grandfather was King Saul, his father Jonathan, the beloved friend of David, and then in one terrible day, everything fell. His father Jonathan was killed in battle, the kingdom was lost, and the news came fast: run, because when a new king rises, the family of the old king does not survive. His nurse grabbed him, picked him up, and ran. And in the panic, in the fear, in the desperate rush to escape, she dropped him. He was 5 years old and he was dropped, and he never walked the same again. Both feet, lame for the rest of his life. Think about what that did to a little boy. He grew up hiding, forgotten, in a place called Lo Debar, which in Hebrew means place of nothing, place of no pasture. He grew up believing he was nothing, that he deserved nothing, that the best he could hope for was to stay hidden and stay alive. And then one day, years later, King David asked a question that changed everything. Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness? They found Mephibosheth, and they brought him before the king. And this grown man, this grandson of a king, fell on his face before David and said, "What is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me?" Read that again. A dead dog. That is what the years had done. That is what the wound had said. Not, "I am the grandson of a king." Not, "I am the son of Jonathan, the man David loved most." A dead dog. The wound had become his identity. The place of nothing had become his name. And David looked at him and said, "Don't be afraid. I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." Always. Not you can come once, not when you've earned it, not when you've fixed your limp. Always at the king's table as one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth went from Lo Debar, the place of nothing, to the king's table. Not because he fixed himself, not because he overcame his wound, not because he stopped limping, but because the king called him by a different name than the wound did. And I need you to hear this. The wound called you not enough, too broken, a dead dog, damaged beyond repair. God is calling you to his table. Not someday, not when you've healed enough, not when you've figured it out. Now. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50:20. What wounded you does not define you. God is rewriting that story right now, even in this moment, even in this pain. But let me be honest with you. Knowing Mephibosheth's story doesn't automatically silence the voice, does it? You can know that God calls you beloved. You can know that the wound doesn't define you. You can have heard it 100 times in 100 sermons, and still, the moment someone raises their voice or goes quiet in a certain way, or looks at you with a certain expression, something happens inside you that has nothing to do with the present moment, because the body remembers what the mind is trying to forget. The nervous system doesn't know the difference between then and now. It just knows this feels like that. And suddenly you're not a grown adult in a present moment. You're 5 years old again, and someone is dropping you. Maybe you've spent years trying to outrun it, staying busy so you never have to sit with the quiet where the voice lives, achieving, performing, proving, look how far I've come from what they said about me. But even in the achieving, even in the proving, the voice is still there, underneath, quiet but present. You're still not enough. You're still that child. You're still the person those things happened to. Maybe you've tried to heal it yourself, read the books, done the work, forgiven or tried to forgive the people who hurt you. And still, on certain days, in certain moments, the wound opens again like it never closed. And you wonder, will this actually ever heal? Or is this just who I am now? Is the limp permanent? Maybe the hardest part isn't even the wound itself. It's the shame around it. The belief that you should be over this by now, that other people had it worse and turned out fine, that talking about it means you're weak or stuck or not trusting God enough. So you carry it quietly. You perform wholeness in public and fall apart in private. You tell everyone you're fine. You tell God you're working on it. And deep down, in the place you don't let anyone see, you're not sure you'll ever be free. Can I tell you what God sees when He looks at you in that place? Not disappointment, not impatience. He sees Mephibosheth hiding in Lo-Debar, calling himself a dead dog, and He is already sending someone to find you, already preparing a place at His table, already speaking a name over you that has nothing to do with the wound. You are not your past. You are not what was done to you. You are not the words that were spoken over you in someone else's anger or pain or brokenness. What wounded you does not define you. God is rewriting that story right now, even in this moment, even in this pain.
I want you to do something right now, just for a moment. I want you to think about the name the wound gave you, the word, the label, the thing you secretly believe about yourself because of what happened. Don't say it out loud, just hold it in your mind. Now, I want you to hear what God says about that name. Not a theological argument, not a list of scriptures to counter the lie, just His voice, the way He speaks to the ones He loves, quietly, directly, personally. If God were speaking to you right now, I believe He would say something like this: "My child, I know what they said. I know what happened in that house, in that room, in that moment you have never fully told anyone about. I was there. I did not look away. And I need you to know what happened to you broke my heart. Not because I was powerless, but because I am a Father who sees every sparrow that falls. And I saw you fall. I saw the moment the words landed. I saw the moment something in you decided to believe them. And I have been waiting so patiently for this moment right here, where you finally let me speak louder than they did. You are precious and honored in my sight, and I love you." Isaiah 43:4. Not you will be precious when you heal. Not you were precious before it happened. You are. Present tense. Right now, in this broken, wounded, still limping place, you are precious. You are honored. You are loved. I know the name the wound gave you. I have a different name for you, and my name is the true one. You are not damaged goods. You are my child. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what I did for you on a cross, once, for all time. You are not the sum of every cruel word ever spoken over you. You are the sum of my love for you, and that sum has no end. The wound said, "You are a dead dog." I say, "You have a seat at my table, forever." Not when you stop limping, now, exactly as you are, exactly where you are, with everything you carry. Come, sit down. This seat was always yours. What wounded you does not define you. I am rewriting that story. Not editing it, not erasing it, redeeming it. Taking every painful chapter and weaving it into something that reveals my glory and your worth. A worth that was never determined by what they did. A worth that was set before you were born, before the wound existed, before anyone spoke a single word over your life. Just sit with that for a moment. Don't rush past it. What he just said, it's not just comfort for a hard day. It's a reorientation of everything. If it's true, and it is, then the identity you've been living from was built on someone else's wound, not on truth, not on who God says you are, on someone else's pain, brokenness, limitation. And here is the question that changes everything. What would your life look like if you stopped living from the name the wound gave you and started living from the name God speaks over you? That's not a small question. Take a breath, because what I'm about to share goes to the root of why the old wound has had so much power over your present.
Here is the truth. The wounds from our past don't just hurt us, they teach us something. They teach us a version of reality, and that version, learned in pain, absorbed in survival mode, becomes the lens through which we see everything. If you were taught that love is conditional, you spend your whole life earning it. If you were taught that you were too much, you spend your whole life making yourself smaller. If you were taught that you were not enough, you spend your whole life trying to prove you are. If you were taught that people leave, you spend your whole life either clinging or pushing away before they can. The wound doesn't just live in the memory, it lives in the pattern, in the relationship you keep choosing, in the voice in your head that sounds like criticism even when no one is criticizing you, in the way you apologize for taking up space, in the way you can't quite receive a compliment without deflecting it. And here is what God says about all of that. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. A new creation, not a patched-up version of the old one, not the same person trying harder, new. The Greek word here is kainos. It doesn't mean new in time, it means new in nature, a different kind of thing entirely. What God is offering you is not just healing from the wound, He is offering you a new foundation to build your identity on, one that was never determined by what happened to you, one that was set before anyone ever had the chance to wound you. I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. Jeremiah 31:3. Everlasting. That means it existed before the wound, it existed during the wound, it exists after the wound. The love of God for you did not begin when you got your life together. It did not increase when you forgave the person who hurt you. It did not decrease when you couldn't. It is everlasting, fixed, unaffected by what happened, unaffected by what you've done with what happened. You were loved before the wound named you. You are loved while the wound still aches. You will be loved long after the wound has become a scar that tells a story not of what destroyed you, but of what God brought you through. Mephibosheth never stopped limping. Let that land.
He sat at the king's table every day for the rest of his life, and he still limped when he walked there. The grace of God didn't remove his limp, it changed where the limp carried him. From Lodabar, the place of nothing, to the table of the king. Your healing may not look like the wound disappearing completely. It may look like the wound no longer having the final word. It may look like limping to the table instead of hiding in Lodabar. It may look like still feeling the ache, but no longer believing the name the ache gave you. Because the name God gives you is not determined by the presence of pain. It is determined by the presence of the Father. And He is here, right now, calling you by your true name. What wounded you does not define you. God is rewriting that story, not around your pain, through it, with it, redeeming every chapter the wound tried to write as the final one. Let me bring this into the specific places where the old wound lives, because it doesn't stay in one corner of your life, it moves into everything. Maybe the wound lives in how you see yourself. Every mirror, every photograph, every moment someone pays you a compliment and something inside you immediately argues with it. They don't really know me. If they knew the real me, they wouldn't say that. But hear this, God knew you before you were born. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139, 13-14. He didn't make you and then discover the wound and revise His opinion. He knew every chapter of your story before you lived a single day of it, and His opinion of you has not changed. Maybe the wound lives in your relationships. You love people, but you hold something back, always, because somewhere deep in the body is a memory of what happened the last time you gave someone everything. And so you love, but with one hand on the door, ready to leave before you can be left, ready to push before you can be pushed. God sees that too, and He doesn't call it broken, He calls it wounded, and wounded things can be healed, not by trying harder to trust, but by experiencing a love so consistent, so unconditional, so utterly safe that the nervous system slowly learns, this is different, this one won't drop me. Maybe the wound lives in how you parent. You look at your child and you are terrified of becoming what was done to you. And sometimes, in a moment of stress, in a moment of exhaustion, you hear your own voice and you hear an echo of something you swore you would never say, and the shame floods in. Father God meets you there too. The cycle ends with you, not because you're perfect, but because you're aware, because you're here, because you're asking God to rewrite the story before it gets passed on. That awareness, that broken, humble, desperate for God awareness, is where generational healing begins. Maybe the wound lives in your relationship with God Himself, because the people who were supposed to show you what safe love looks like didn't. And so when someone says God is your Father, something in you doesn't know what to do with that, because Father is a complicated word. And God knows that. He is not offended by your complicated feelings about Him. He is patient with the part of you that flinches when He reaches towards you. He understands why trust doesn't come easily, and He will wait, as long as it takes, because He is not the fathers who failed you. He is the Father who has been pursuing you since before you were born, whose love was never conditional, never withheld as punishment, never given only when you performed well. In every area, in every corner of your life where the wound left its mark, what wounded you does not define you. In how you see yourself, God is rewriting that story. In how you love, God is rewriting that story. In how you parent, God is rewriting that story. In how you see God Himself, God is rewriting that story. Every chapter, every corner, every place the wound left its name on you, He is writing over it with His own.
I want to invite you into something now. Not a performance, not a moment where you have to present your best self or have the right words or feel ready. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. He didn't say, come to me when you've processed your childhood. He didn't say, come to me when you've forgiven everyone who hurt you. He said, "Come, weary, burdened, still carrying the weight of what happened. Just come." And I think if you've made it this far, something in you is already there, already at his feet, already holding out the wound you've been carrying alone for far too long. So let's bring it to him together, right now, right where you are. The old wound, the old name, the old story. Let's lay it down and let the one who sits on the throne and makes all things new begin his work. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I come to you right now carrying something I have carried for a very long time. Not just today's pain, the old pain, the deep pain, the kind that has roots that go further back than I sometimes want to admit. Father, I want to start by saying something I don't say enough. Thank you. Thank you that you are safe. Thank you that I can come to you with this, with all of this, and you will not use it against me. Thank you that your love has no conditions attached to it, no fine print, no expiry date. You are safe, and I am here. Lord, I want to be honest with you now. There are wounds inside me that I have been carrying for a long time. Words that were spoken over me that I never asked for and never deserved. Moments from my past that shaped the way I see myself in ways I am still only beginning to understand. There are voices inside me that don't belong to you, voices that say I am not enough, that I am too broken, that I am damaged beyond repair, that the best I can hope for is to stay hidden and stay small. And Father, I confess that I have believed those voices more than I have believed yours. I have let the wound name me when you were standing right there with a different name on your lips. Forgive me. Not because the wound was my fault, but because I want to be free from the identity it built inside me. Lord, I bring you the specific wound I have been carrying, the words someone spoke, the thing that was done, the absence that left a hole, the moment that broke something in me that I have been trying to fix ever since. I don't have to say it out loud. You already know. You were there. And I bring it to you now, not to relive it, but to release it into your hands where it was always meant to go. Father, I ask you to do what only you can do. Not just heal the memory, heal the belief the memory created, heal the identity the wound constructed, heal the pattern I have been living from because of what happened. Go to the root, Lord, not just the fruit. Go to the place where the lie was planted and plant your truth there instead. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139, 13-14. You made me, Father. Before anyone had the chance to wound me, you made me. And what you made was not a mistake. What you made was not too much or not enough. What you made was wonderfully. Help me to believe that, not just in my head, in my body, in the place where the wound lives. Let your truth go that deep. Lord, I choose to forgive the ones who wounded me. Not because what they did was okay, it wasn't. Not because I don't still feel it, I do. But because I refuse to let what they did have permanent residence in my heart. I release them to you. I release the anger. I release the grief. I release the fantasy of going back and having it be different. And I receive, in exchange, your healing, your truth, your name for me. Speak over me now, Father. Speak louder than every voice that ever wounded me. Tell me who I am, not who the wound said I am, not who my past says I am, who you say I am. I am not damaged goods. I am your child. I am not defined by what was done to me. I am defined by what you did for me. I am not the sum of every painful word ever spoken over me. I am loved,
I am chosen, I am known, I am yours. And I receive right now a seat at your table, not when I stop limping, now, exactly as I am, with everything I carry, with every scar still visible. I come to your table and I sit down because you said always, and I believe you.
Lord, with David, I say, you have searched me and you know me. Not the version of me I present to the world, the real me, the wounded me, the me that hides in Lodabar and calls itself a dead dog. You know that me, and you have not turned away. You know when I sit and when I rise. You know the moments I am strong and the moments I collapse under the weight of what I carry. You know the nights when the old pain comes back and I lie awake in the dark with voices I wish would be silent. You know, and you are there in those nights, in that silence. You are familiar with all my ways. Where can I go from your spirit? I have tried to outrun this. I have tried to stay busy enough that the wound couldn't catch up. But you were there in the running. You were there in the hiding. You were there in the Lodabar of my own heart. You never left. For you created my inmost being, not the surface, the inmost being, the place where the wound went deepest, the place no one else has ever seen. You were there when it was formed. You are there now as it heals. And what you created, even there, even in the deepest place, was not a mistake, was not too broken to be loved, was not beyond your reach or your redemption. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I say that today not because I feel it fully, but because you said it and you do not lie. And I am choosing slowly, painfully, courageously to believe your voice over the wounds. Wonderfully made. Let that be the word that goes deepest today. Deeper than the wound, deeper than the lie, deeper than every voice that ever said otherwise. Wonderfully made. By a Father who has never once regretted making me. Father, I want to stay here a little longer because I know I am not the only one carrying this today. I pray for everyone watching this right now who has never told anyone the full story of what happened to them, who has carried it in silence for years, maybe decades, who smiled and said, "I'm fine, and it was a long time ago and I've moved on," while something inside never moved on at all. Father, meet them in that hidden place, the place they've never let anyone see. Let your light reach that far. I pray for the one who was wounded by someone who was supposed to protect them, a parent, a teacher, a pastor, someone they trusted completely, who used that trust as a weapon. Lord, the betrayal of a protector goes so deep. It doesn't just wound the heart, it wounds the ability to trust. It wounds the ability to believe that anyone, even you, is truly safe. Be patient with that person, Father. Be the safe father they never had. Prove yourself one faithful moment at a time. Let them learn slowly, gently, that you are different. I pray for the one who is watching this and thinking, I've tried to heal this. I've prayed. I've gone to counseling. I've read the books. I've done everything right. Why am I still not free? Father, healing is not linear, and it is not a failure of faith to still be in process. Remind them that Mephibosheth still limped after he sat at the king's table. The grace was not in the removal of the limp. The grace was in where the limp carried him. I pray for the one who needs to forgive but doesn't know how, who wants to be free from the weight of it but cannot find the door to forgiveness from the inside. Lord, forgiveness is not something we manufacture. It is something you produce in us as we yield to you. Do that work in them today. Not forced, not rushed, but real. The kind of forgiveness that sets the prisoner free and discovers that the prisoner was them.
He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Isaiah 61, 1-3. Beauty instead of ashes. Not pretend the ashes weren't real, not act like the fire never happened. Instead of. He takes the ashes of what happened, the real ashes, the painful ashes, and he makes something beautiful, not despite the story, through it. I believe that, Father, for myself, for everyone listening right now. I believe you are the God of beauty from ashes. I believe you waste nothing. I believe that the deepest wounds can become the deepest wells of compassion, pools of understanding that only people who have suffered can offer to others who are suffering. I believe you are making something beautiful out of every painful chapter of every story represented in this room right now. I believe it. Even when I cannot see it yet, I believe it. I want you to say these words, not because you feel them perfectly, not because the wound is completely silent yet, but because truth spoken out loud begins to displace the lie that has lived there. Say this with me, slowly, deliberately, like you mean it, because you do. I am not what was done to me. I am not the words that were spoken over me. I am not the sum of my wounds. What happened to me was real, and it was not okay, and it does not have the final word. God was there when it happened. God has been with me in every moment since, and God is here now, rewriting what the wound tried to write. I am not a dead dog. I have a seat at the Father's table, and that seat has always been mine. The wound gave me a name. God gives me a better one. Beloved, chosen, wonderfully made, fully known, completely loved. I choose today to live from God's name and not the wounds. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but I choose. Say it one more time. The anchor, the truth that holds when everything else feels uncertain. What wounded me does not define me. God is rewriting my story. Today, right now, in me. Let that land in the deep place, the place where the wound lives. Let it go all the way down, past the memory, past the pattern, past the voice that has been speaking since before you knew you could argue with it. Let it land there, and let it stay.
I want you to imagine something, just for a moment. Imagine that place inside you, where the old wound lives. Not the surface, the deep place. The place that aches in a particular way that has nothing to do with today. Now imagine a light entering that place, not forcing its way in, not demanding that the wound immediately disappear, just entering, gently, the way dawn enters a room that has been dark for a very long time. Slowly, quietly, without violence. Imagine the light touching the wound, not erasing it, not pretending it isn't there, but illuminating it, surrounding it, filling the space around it with something the wound never had. Safety, truth, love that has no conditions. Imagine hearing, not with your ears, but somewhere deeper, a voice speaking your true name, not the name the wound gave you, your real name, the one God has been speaking since before you were born. Beloved. Imagine what it would feel like to believe that, not just intellectually, not just on a good day, in the body, in the nervous system, in the deep place where the old voice lives. To feel, even for a moment, I am loved. I am safe. I am not defined by what happened to me. Imagine waking up tomorrow,
And the first thought not being the wound's voice, but this: I am being rewritten. God is at work in the deepest part of me. The story is not over. In fact, the best chapters are still ahead. Imagine the day you look back at the wound and see not just pain, but the place where God's grace went deepest. The place that became a well of compassion you couldn't have found any other way. The scar that tells not a story of destruction, but of survival, of redemption, of a God who never stopped rewriting. That day is coming. It may not be today. Healing is not always instant, and that is okay. But something began today. In this prayer, in this moment of honesty and surrender, and choosing God's name over the wounds, something shifted. Something in the deep place received a little light that wasn't there before. And light, once it enters, does not go back. Something is happening right now. Can you feel it? Not the complete absence of the wound, not the sudden silence of every old voice. Something quieter than that, and more profound. A shift. In the place where the wound used to have the loudest voice, something else is speaking now. Something that sounds like truth, like grace, like a father who never gave up on rewriting this story. You came into this prayer carrying a name the wound gave you. You are not leaving with that name. Because today, in this room, in this moment, in this prayer, the Father spoke louder. And I want you to hear this with everything in you. God is not a God who wastes pain. He is not sitting in heaven looking at your wound and saying, "That's a shame, nothing to be done." He is the God who takes ashes and makes beauty, who takes Lodabar, the place of nothing, and turns it into a seat at the king's table, who takes a dead dog and calls him a son, who takes the most broken, most wounded, most hidden part of you and says, "This is exactly where I do my best work." Your past did not disqualify you from God's purpose. It is part of it. Every wound, every scar, every dark chapter you wish wasn't in the story, God has been weaving it into something that one day will make sense. Not in a way that excuses what happened, but in a way that reveals what God can do with what happened. Joseph was thrown in a pit and became the savior of nations. Mephibosheth was dropped and forgotten and called himself a dead dog and ended up eating at the king's table every day for the rest of his life. And you who have been carrying this wound, this name, this story that someone else tried to write over you, you are not the end of your painful chapter. You are the beginning of God's redemptive one. Say it now, out loud, with everything you have. I am not my wound. I am not my past. I am not the name they gave me. I am not what was done to me. I am loved. I am chosen. I am being rewritten. God is not finished with me. He has never been close to finished. And one more time, the anchor phrase, the truth that holds everything. Say it like you mean it, because you do. What wounded me does not define me. God is rewriting my story, today, right now, in me, through me, for me, always.
Just breathe. Let everything slow down now. The emotion, the weight, the years of carrying.
Just breathe. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Not be healed completely, not have it all resolved, not have every question answered. Just be still and know that He is God. Know that He saw everything that happened. Know that He has been working in it all along. Know that today was not an accident. Feel the quiet in this moment. That quiet is not emptiness, it is presence, the same presence that found Mephibosheth in Lodabar, that sent someone to say, "The king is asking for you." Not to punish you, not to use you, to honor you, to restore you, to seat you at his table. That king is calling you right now, not when you stop limping, now. And the table is set, and the seat is yours, and you are welcome exactly as you are, wounds and all, scars and all, limp and all. You prayed today. You brought something out of the darkness and into the light. That took more courage than you know, because wounds survive in silence, and you refused to be silent today. You brought it to God. You let Him speak over it, over you. And something shifted. The healing that began today will continue. It may not be a straight line. There will be days when the old voice seems louder again. That is not regression. That is the wound having less power than it used to and making more noise because of it. Hold on to what happened today. Hold on to the truth that was spoken. Hold on to the name God called you, because it is more true than anything the wound ever said. Rest in that, just for this moment. Let the Father hold what you just put down. He has it. He has you, and He is not letting go. Before you go, I want to leave you with one truth, just one. Carry it with you out of this prayer and into your day. The wound was real. What happened was real. The pain was real. The words were real. The absence was real. I will never tell you it wasn't. But the wound is not the author of your story. It never was. It tried to be. It wrote some chapters you wish weren't there, but it was never the author. There is only one author, and He has been writing your story since before you were born. And He does not write stories without redemption. He does not write characters without purpose. He does not waste a single painful chapter. I am making everything new. Revelation 21:5. Not, I made everything new a long time ago and you missed it. Not, I will make everything new someday if you're good enough. I am making. Present tense, active, right now, in you, in this story, in this wound, in this moment. Making everything new. Mephibosheth walked out of Lodabar, still limping, but walking, toward the table that was always set for you, toward the Father who has been calling your name since before you were born, toward the story He has been writing all along, the one that is better, deeper, more redemptive than anything the wound ever tried to tell you. What wounded you does not define you. God is rewriting that story. Always. Amen.